The stars hung like tiny diamonds against the endless black of space. Among them, the research vessel Curiosity drifted slowly, its lights blinking as it approached something much larger, a dark shape that blocked out the stars behind it. Magnify. Sector 7, ordered Dr. Mira Vazin, her four-fingered hand pointing at the main screen. The alien scientist stood tall, her blue skin reflecting the soft glow of the control room lights. As the lead xenoarchaeologist for the Galactic Coalition, she had seen many strange things during her career, but this discovery might be the most important one yet. The year was 2487. Humanity had joined the Coalition, an alliance of 17 alien species, almost a century ago. Now humans worked alongside beings from across the galaxy in peace. But the object they found today might change everything they knew about human history. Object is approximately 1.2 kilometers in length, reported Keel, the ship's sensor operator. His thin reptilian face showed no emotion, but his tail twitched with excitement. Structure confirms it is artificial. Design appears to be human. Dr. Vazin narrowed her large almond-shaped eyes. Human? Are you certain? Yes, Doctor. The shape matches old Earth warship designs. The control room fell silent. A human warship, here in the empty space between the Arcturus and Vega systems, where no human ships should have been. Not in this time period, at least. How old is it? She asked. Keel checked his readings. Based on metal decay and radiation patterns, approximately 400 years old. Dr. Vazin did the math quickly. That would date the ship to around 2080, nearly 2 centuries before humans had officially developed interstellar travel, and long before they had built warships of this size. Something is wrong with your readings, she said. Humans barely reached their moon in 2080. They could not build something like this. The readings are correct, Doctor, Keel insisted. I have checked 3 times. Captain Lorne, the stocky commander of the Curiosity, spoke up. Whatever it is, we should investigate. Prepare a boarding team. Hours later, Dr. Vazin floated through the empty corridors of the massive ship. Her environment suit protected her from the vacuum, while small lights on her helmet illuminated the way forward. Behind her, 5 other researchers followed carefully. The airlock was compatible with our equipment, said Eric, the only human on her team. That confirms it's human-made. Dr. Vazin nodded. But it should not be here, Eric. Your people were not advanced enough to build something like this 4 centuries ago. Maybe it's from the future, suggested Neri, another researcher. Time travel accident? Let's find the bridge, Dr. Vazin said. We need answers. They moved through dark hallways, their boots clicking against metal floors when the artificial gravity briefly activated and then failed again. The ship seemed to be in sleep mode rather than fully dead. Occasionally, lights would flicker on as they passed, only to dim again moments later. No signs of battle damage, Eric noted. No bodies either. Where did the crew go? Wondered Neri. After an hour of searching, they found the bridge, a massive command center with rows of control stations and a large view screen at the front. Dr. Vazin approached what appeared to be the captain's chair and brushed away years of dust. Look, she said, pointing to words etched into the armrest. Eric leaned closer, shining his light on the metal. USS Nomad, he read. That's not possible. You know this ship? Dr. Vazin asked. No, that's just it. There's no USS Nomad. In our history books, a ship this size would be famous, especially from that era. Dr. Vazin moved to what she guessed was the main computer terminal. Maybe we can access the ship's logs. To her surprise, when she touched the screen, it flickered to life. A soft hum filled the bridge as emergency power systems engaged. Welcome back, Commander, said a computerized voice, making everyone jump. Emergency protocols are in effect. Please state authorization code. The team exchanged nervous glances. We are not the crew, Dr. Vazin said carefully. We are researchers from the Galactic Coalition. This ship has been abandoned for centuries. A pause. Then, scanning. Non-human life forms detected. Security. Protocols engaged. Red lights began flashing and heavy metal doors slammed shut, sealing them on the bridge. "Wait!" Eric shouted. "I'm human. I'm from Earth." The computer seemed to hesitate. "Human DNA confirmed. Partial access granted. State your mission." Eric stepped forward. "We're explorers. We found this ship by accident. We mean no harm." Another pause. "Access level insufficient for full systems restoration. Basic historical data available upon request." Dr. Vazin and Eric exchanged looks. This was their chance to learn the truth. "Tell us about the USS Nomad," Eric said. "When was it built, and what was its purpose?" The computer's voice remained flat. USS Nomad. Construction completed in 2079. First vessel of Project Bastion. Military designation Deep Space Deterrent. Further information restricted. 2079? Eric whispered in shock. "That's impossible. We barely had a permanent moon base then." "Earth history may have been modified," the computer stated. "Project. Bastion details classified. Warning, ship systems retaining minimal power. Full shutdown in 10 minutes. Dr. Vazin worked quickly. "Can we download the ship's logs before shutdown?" "Partial download permitted to human crew only." Eric removed a data drive from his suit and connected it to the terminal. "Transfer whatever you can." As the download began, Dr. Vazin explored the bridge further. In a sealed compartment, she found what appeared to be a captain's log, an actual, physical book. "Eric, look at this," she called. The pages were brittle, but some entries remained readable. The final entry simply stated, "May God forgive us for what we built. May our descendants never need to use it. The Nomad and her sisters will sleep until needed. We return to Earth today. The truth dies with us." The ship's lights began to dim. "Download complete," the computer announced. "Power reserves depleted. Returning to dormant state." As darkness fell over the bridge, Dr. Vazin made a decision. This discovery was too important and too dangerous to handle alone. "We need to contact Earth," she told her team as they made their way back to their ship. "Their historians need to see this. Something is very wrong with human history as we know it." Behind them, the massive warship faded back into darkness, its secrets barely touched. But the data they carried would soon shake the foundations of the Coalition and rewrite what everyone thought they knew about humanity's past. Professor Alan Wright sipped his coffee as he stared at the hologram floating above his desk. The massive ship rotated slowly, showing every angle of its hull. He still couldn't believe what he was seeing. "And you're certain about the date?" he asked again. Dr. Mira Vazin nodded. The blue-skinned alien scientist had traveled all the way to Earth to meet him in person. "Multiple dating methods confirm it. The USS Nomad was built in 2079. Alan ran a hand through his gray hair. As Earth's leading military historian, he had spent decades studying the development of human space forces. "That's simply not possible. In 2079, we barely had a permanent moon base." "Yet the evidence is right in front of you," Dr. Vazin said. She placed a small device on his desk, which projected another image, the captain's log they had found. "We need your help, Professor. The Coalition wants answers." Alan knew what she meant. The Galactic Coalition was nervous. If humans had built massive warships 4 centuries ago and kept them secret, what else might they be hiding? "I'll put together a team," he said finally. "The best people I know." 3 days later, Alan stood in the Earth Historical Institute's main hangar with his chosen experts. Dr. Olivia Martinez was checking her equipment. The short, intense woman was the top weapons systems specialist on Earth. Beside her stood Kyle Bennett, a tall young man with a shaved head who specialized in AI archaeology. Laura Dawson, a former diplomat with experience in human-alien relations, completed the team. "We leave in 1 hour," Alan told them. "The Coalition has provided transport to the Nomad's location." "I still can't wrap my head around this," Olivia said, looking over the ship schematics on her tablet. "This thing has weapon mounts that we didn't develop until the 2300s. How is that possible?" Kyle smiled slightly. "That's what we're going to find out." The journey took 3 days aboard a Coalition fast transport. When they finally arrived, the first sight of the USS Nomad left them all speechless. The massive warship hung in space like a sleeping giant, its dark hull swallowing nearby starlight. "My God," whispered Laura. "It's real." Dr. Vazin met them at the airlock. "Welcome. We've established a safe path to the bridge and set up temporary lighting. The ship's power reserves are minimal but stable." As they floated through the ancient corridors, Alan felt a strange sense of familiarity. Despite being centuries old, the design elements were recognizably human, but advanced in ways that didn't match known history. "Look at these conduits," Olivia said, pointing at wall panels they passed. "They're designed for power levels we couldn't handle until at least 2250. This doesn't make sense." When they reached the bridge, Kyle immediately went to the main computer terminal. "The system recognized your team member Eric as human before, right?" he asked Dr. Vazin. She nodded. "It granted partial access, but most files remained locked. Let me try something." Kyle placed his hand on the scanner. The screen flickered to life. "Human DNA confirmed," said the ship's computer. "Please state authorization level." Kyle looked at Alan, who stepped forward. "This is Professor Alan Wright, historian representing Earth government. Request full access to historical data." A pause. "Processing request. Partial access granted. To historical archives only. Weapon systems and engine specifications remain sealed." It was more than they had hoped for. Kyle connected a specialized device to the terminal and began copying files. "This will take some time," he said. "Meanwhile, we should explore the rest of the ship." They split into pairs. Olivia went with Dr. Vazin to examine what they could of the weapon systems, while Alan and Laura headed toward what appeared to be the crew quarters. The rooms were empty but intact. No personal belongings remained, as if the ship had been carefully cleaned before being abandoned. In the captain's quarters, however, Alan found something interesting. A small safe built into the wall. "Can you open it?" Laura asked. Alan examined the lock. It was old-fashioned, requiring a physical key rather than biometrics. "No, but maybe." He pressed against various parts of the wall around the safe, testing a theory. With a soft click, a small panel opened, revealing a hidden compartment. Inside was a key. "How did you know?" Laura asked, impressed. Alan smiled grimly. "Old military trick. Ship captains often kept backup keys hidden." The safe contained a single item, a small data crystal of a type Alan didn't recognize. They brought it back to the bridge where Kyle was still working. "Found something?" he asked, looking up from his work. "Not sure what it is," Alan admitted, showing him the crystal. Kyle examined it. "It's ancient, but I might be able to read it. Let me try." While Kyle worked on the crystal, Olivia and Dr. Vazin returned from their inspection. "The weapons mounts are unlike anything I've ever seen," Olivia reported, her voice tight with concern. "Based on what I could tell from the external housing alone, they could deliver enough power to destroy a small moon. In 2079, we couldn't even leave Earth orbit efficiently." "There's more," Dr. Vazin added. "We found manufacturing marks indicating this was just one ship of a class. The marking suggests Bastion class, vessel 1 of 7. 7 of these?" Laura whispered. "Where are the others?" "I've got it," Kyle called out suddenly. The main screen flickered, showing a man in an unfamiliar military uniform. His face was tired, his eyes haunted. "Final record of Admiral William Garrett, Project Bastion," the man in the recording said. "The Nomad and her sister ships have been placed in dormant mode and scattered across 7 different locations. Coordinates are sealed in each vessel's black box. We pray they will never be needed." The Admiral looked down briefly, then continued. "History will not record our work. All files are being erased, all personnel reassigned with altered memories. Operation Bastion must remain hidden. The technology is too dangerous. If you're seeing this, then something has awakened the Nomad. Proceed with extreme caution. What we found, what we used, it was never meant for human hands." The recording ended abruptly. The bridge fell silent. "Operation Bastion?" Laura finally asked. "I've never heard of it." "Nobody has," Alan said quietly. "That's the point." Kyle turned from his workstation, his face pale. I've managed to decrypt some of the historical files. You need to see this. The screen changed to show technical schematics and mission logs. As they read, the impossible truth became clear. In 2058, a small human research vessel had discovered something in deep space. The wreckage of a ship belonging to a species that had vanished millions of years ago. The humans had reverse-engineered the technology, creating Project Bastion, and the 7 ships as a defense against potential threats from the stars. They were afraid, Olivia said softly. First contact hadn't happened yet. They built these ships as a precaution, and then erased all record of them, Alan added. But why? Kyle pointed to another file that was still decrypting. I think the answer is in there, but it's heavily encrypted. This will take time. Before he could continue, an alarm blared through the ship. The computer's voice echoed around them. Warning, proximity alert, unidentified vessels approaching. Return to your ship immediately, Captain Lorne ordered through the communication link. His voice was tense. 3 Coalition patrol vessels have entered the area. The Security Council has sent them. Alan and his team exchanged worried glances. Dr. Vazen's blue skin seemed to pale. Why would the Security Council send patrols? Laura asked. News of our discovery has spread, Dr. Vazen explained. Many council members are concerned about what this ship represents. They hurried back through the dark corridors to the airlock. Kyle carried the data they had managed to collect, clutching it protectively. On board the research vessel Curiosity, they gathered in the conference room. Through the viewport, they could see the 3 Coalition warships positioning themselves around the USS Nomad. Their sleek silver hulls reflected the distant starlight. What are they doing? Olivia demanded. Captain Lorne's face was grim. They've been ordered to secure the human vessel until the Security Council decides what to do with it. It's an Earth ship, Alan argued. It belongs to humanity. A ship that should not exist, the captain replied. A ship that suggests humans had technology they shouldn't have had, and kept it secret. The council is nervous. A call came through on the main screen. A stern-faced alien appeared. Ambassador Soventrell, the Coalition Security Council representative. His gray, ridged skin and 4 eyes marked him as a Drevnian, one of the oldest species in the Coalition. Dr. Vazen, he said coldly. You were instructed to report all findings directly to the Council. I have been gathering information to make a complete report, she answered carefully. And yet you brought humans to the site without authorization. His upper eyes narrowed. The Council has concerns about this discovery. All data must be turned over immediately. Laura stepped forward. Ambassador, as Earth's diplomatic liaison, I must protest. The USS Nomad is human in origin. Earth has a right to be involved in its study. A ship with weapons that could threaten Coalition worlds, Trell responded. A ship from a time when humans claimed to be primitive, yet built warships more advanced than some of our current models. You understand our concern? Alan tried a different approach. Ambassador, we've only just begun to understand what the Nomad represents. Working together would benefit everyone. The Council will decide that. Trell's tone left no room for argument. Your team has 12 hours to submit all data collected so far. The human vessel will remain under Coalition guard. The screen went dark. This is bad, Kyle muttered. Really bad. Back on Earth, the situation deteriorated quickly. News of the discovery had leaked to the public. Protests erupted outside Coalition embassies as humans demanded the return of the stolen heritage ship. Meanwhile, alien residents on Earth reported increasing hostility. In an emergency meeting at Earth's government headquarters, Alan and his team presented their findings to President Diane Clark and her cabinet. A secret defense program from the 2070s? The president looked skeptical. How could something that significant be erased from our history? The admiral in the recording mentioned altered memories, Kyle explained. They may have used early memory manipulation technology to make people forget. Defense Minister Paul Jackson leaned forward. And you say there were 7 ships built? Where are the others? We don't know yet, Alan admitted. The coordinates were stored separately. This puts us in a difficult position, President Clark said. The Coalition is demanding answers we don't have. Some member species are already calling for restrictions on human space travel until we come clean about our hidden military capabilities. We need more time, Laura urged. Let me negotiate with the Council. Remind them that Earth has been a peaceful member for nearly a century. Do it, the President nodded. Meanwhile, we'll issue a statement confirming we had no knowledge of Project Bastion until now. After the meeting, Alan found Olivia staring out a window at the city below. The lights of New Washington glowed in the evening darkness. You're quiet, he said. I've been thinking about the weapon systems I saw, she replied. Alan, they weren't just advanced. Some of the designs seemed wrong somehow. Not like something humans would create. The recording mentioned they found something in space. Alien technology they reverse-engineered. It's more than that. She turned to face him. Those weapons. I got the feeling they weren't designed to destroy ships or planets. They were designed to fight something else. Something different. Before Alan could respond, their communicators beeped. Kyle wanted to meet them immediately in the secure lab. When they arrived, Kyle was working frantically at a computer, his fingers flying across the holographic keyboard. I've been decrypting more of the Nomad's data, he explained when they entered. I found something about the origin of Project Bastion. He pulled up a file showing the grainy image of a strange spacecraft. Unlike the sleek designs of coalition ships or the practical look of human vessels, this one seemed almost organic, with curves and protrusions that made no engineering sense. In 2058, a human mining ship found this derelict in the Kuiper Belt, Kyle explained. According to the logs, it was already millions of years old. The technology inside was beyond anything known, even today. Who built it? Alan asked. The files call them the Vanished, an ancient species that apparently disappeared overnight, no one knows why. Kyle's face was serious. But here's the important part. The humans who found it began experiencing strange effects after studying the ship. Memory problems, nightmares. Some claimed they could hear voices. What kind of voices? Olivia asked quietly. The files aren't clear, but something about that ship scared them enough to build the Nomad and 6 other warships in secret, using the technology they found. Laura, who had been silent until now, suddenly looked up from her tablet. We have another problem. The Coalition Security Council has called an emergency session. They're voting on whether to impound the Nomad permanently and restrict human space travel. They can't do that, Olivia protested. They're afraid, Laura said simply. And fear makes people do extreme things. At that moment, the secure line from the president's office chimed. Her face appeared on screen, looking grave. Professor Wright, we've received a message from Coalition headquarters. The Nomad has disappeared. Disappeared? Alan repeated. How? Unknown. The patrol ships reported a power surge from within the vessel, then it simply vanished. The Coalition is blaming us. Alan looked at his team, shock on their faces. That's impossible. The ship was dormant. Not anymore. Kyle said quietly, looking at his data screen. Something woke it up. Across the room, another screen flashed to life by itself. The face of Admiral William Garrett, the man from the recording, appeared. But this wasn't a recording. The image was speaking directly to them. Protocol 7 activated. Sister ships responding. The warning was true. They are coming. News of the discovery spreads quickly throughout Coalition space. The Security Council convenes an emergency session, with many representatives expressing concern about what this means for human history and their current standing in galactic politics. If humans had developed such advanced military technology centuries ago, what else might they be hiding? On Earth, government officials claim no knowledge of Operation Bastion or the USS Nomad. Public opinion becomes divided. Some believe their government is lying, while others theorize the ship may be from an alternate timeline or dimension. Laura finds herself in an increasingly difficult diplomatic position as tensions rise between Earth and the Coalition. Meanwhile, Professor Wright and Dr. Martinez continue their investigation, uncovering evidence that the USS Nomad's technology was partially derived from something non-human. something that predates all known galactic civilizations. The plot thickens when they discover references to a lost human colony called Haven that may have been connected to the ship's mysterious final mission. The room fell silent. Everyone stared at the screen where Admiral Garrett's face looked back at them, a man who should have been dead for centuries. "This isn't possible," Alan whispered. "It's an AI," Kyle said, stepping closer to the screen. "A very advanced one, designed to look like the Admiral." The image of Garrett spoke again. "If you are seeing this message, you have accessed enough of the Nomad's data to trigger Protocol 7. The ship has now entered automated navigation to rendezvous with its sister vessels." "Where is it going?" Laura asked. The AI seemed to hear her. "Coordinates classified, but you must follow. The truth about Project Bastion must be understood." President Clark's voice came from the other screen. "What's happening? Who is that?" "It's an AI representation of the Nomad's commander," Alan explained quickly. "Madam President, we need a ship. We have to follow the Nomad." "That's out of the question," she replied. "The Coalition is already accusing us of activating the ship ourselves. If we chase after it, tell them we're trying to help recover." "It," Laura suggested. "Ambassador Trell respects me. I can convince him." President Clark considered this. "Very well. I'll assign you the research vessel Aurora. But be careful. This situation is already on the edge of becoming a diplomatic disaster." 6 hours later, the team was aboard the Aurora, following coordinates provided by the Garrett AI. Captain Ron Miller, a veteran of Earth's space fleet, stood on the bridge with them. "These coordinates will take us beyond mapped Coalition space," he noted, studying the navigation screen. "No one goes out there." "The Nomad did," Olivia pointed out. "And 6 other ships like it," Kyle added. The journey took 5 days. 5 tense days during which Coalition officials demanded hourly updates and threatened sanctions against Earth. Laura spent most of her time in video conferences, trying to keep the peace. Finally, the Aurora reached its destination, a small star system with a gas giant and several moons. Sensors detected the Nomad in orbit around one of the moons. "Life signs on the moon's surface," reported the science officer, "and artificial structures." "That's impossible," Captain Miller said. "No one has colonized this region." As they approached, they could see it clearly, a settlement built into the moon's surface. Domes and towers spread across a valley, connected by enclosed walkways, but most of the structures appeared damaged or abandoned. "I'm detecting minimal power signatures," the science officer added. "If people lived here, most of them are gone now." They landed near the largest structure, a massive dome at the center of the settlement. After putting on environmental suits, Alan and his team stepped onto the moon's surface. The low gravity made their movements bouncy despite the weight of their suits. "According to these readings, the air inside the dome is breathable," Kyle said, checking his scanner. "The life support systems are still functioning." They entered through an airlock and removed their helmets once inside. The dome contained what appeared to be a city center, buildings, parks, even a small lake, all perfectly preserved but empty. Signs in English identified the location. "Haven Colony Central." "Haven," Alan repeated. The Nomad's logs mentioned a colony called Haven. They found their way to what appeared to be the colony's administrative building. Inside, most computers were dead, but in the central archive, one system still functioned. Kyle accessed it easily. "No security," he noted. "They wanted people to find this." The screen displayed a welcome message. "Haven Colony Historical Archive. Population, 50,000. Established, 2083. Evacuated, 2134. "Evacuated," Olivia read. "Not abandoned. Where did they go?" Kyle dug deeper into the files. As he read, his expression grew increasingly troubled. "Project Bastion wasn't just about building warships," he finally said. "It was about protecting humanity from something the first research team discovered along with the alien ship." "What did they find?" Alan asked. Kyle pulled up a report with the heading, "The Whispering Dark." "When the original team studied the alien technology," he explained, They began experiencing strange effects, not just memory problems and nightmares as we already knew. They started to change. Their thinking altered. They began building things they didn't understand. What things? Laura asked. Devices that had no apparent purpose. And they kept talking about the voices from between the stars. The scientists became convinced something was trying to communicate through the alien technology, something ancient and powerful. Olivia shivered despite the warmth of the dome. Are you saying the technology was haunted? Not exactly. The report suggests the alien material somehow connected to something else, a form of intelligence that exists in a different state than we understand. The team called it the Whispering Dark. Kyle continued reading. They realized the danger too late. Several researchers had already been completely changed, their minds no longer human. That's when Project Bastion truly began, not just as defense against alien species, but against this influence. And Haven Colony? Alan prompted. It was built as a research station to safely study the technology. They managed to create weapons that could target the influence directly. Weapons that were installed on the 7 Bastion ships. But even with precautions, people here began to change. Laura pointed to another file. Look at this evacuation order. The document was simple and chilling. Emergency protocol initiated. All personnel to return to Earth immediately. Colony to be sealed. No exceptions. No one speaks of Haven upon return. They ran, Olivia said softly. But not before they programmed the ships to watch for signs of the Whispering Dark returning. Kyle added. The Nomad activated because it detected something like what they found centuries ago. A deep humming suddenly filled the building. Outside the windows they could see the USS Nomad hovering above the colony, its massive form blocking the stars. It's scanning the colony, Kyle said, checking his devices. A holographic projection appeared in the center of the room. Admiral Garrett's AI again. Haven protocols accessed. Warning confirmed. Deep space sensors detect approach of non-corporeal entities matching Whispering Dark signature. Time to arrival in human space. Approximately 2 months. The Bastion fleet has awakened to fulfill its purpose. Bastion fleet? Laura asked. You mean all 7 ships? Correct. All vessels now active and converging at defensive positions. But human guidance is required. The technology must be used correctly to avoid contamination. What technology? Alan demanded. What are we supposed to do? The AI's expression turned grave. The archive contains instructions. Operation Firewall must be activated. The Bastion fleet must deploy the veil generators. But what is the threat exactly? Olivia asked. What is coming? Instead of answering, the AI displayed a star map. 7 points of light began moving toward the edges of human and coalition space. They hunt awareness, the AI said simply. They consume minds. They have done so for millions of years. The vanished were their last meal. We will be their next, unless the veil is raised. Outside, the sky above Haven Colony suddenly filled with light as 6 more massive ships appeared next to the Nomad. The rest of the Bastion fleet, awakened from centuries of sleep. Following the coordinates found in the ship's logs, the research team travels to a remote star system beyond coalition-mapped space. There, they discover the remains of Haven Colony on a habitable moon orbiting a gas giant. The colony appears to have been abandoned centuries ago, but its advanced infrastructure remains partially intact. Inside what appears to be the colony's central archive, they discover the truth. Early in human space exploration, a small research vessel encountered the wreckage of an ancient alien battleship, one belonging to a species now extinct for millions of years. The humans reverse-engineered the technology, creating Operation Bastion and ships like the Nomad as a safeguard against potentially hostile aliens. The knowledge was deliberately kept from future generations to prevent its misuse, with records systematically erased over time. The most shocking discovery comes when they find evidence that Haven was not abandoned. It was evacuated when the Hydra colony scientists realized the ancient technology carried a form of mimetic hazard, slowly altering the minds of those who worked with it too closely. The USS Nomad's crew had been affected during their last mission to check on Haven, which explains why the ship was deliberately powered down and set adrift. 2 weeks later, the main chamber of the Coalition Security Council was filled to capacity. Representatives from all 17 alien species sat in rising rows, their faces showing various levels of concern and disbelief. At the center of the room stood Alan, Laura, and Dr. Vazin. "You expect us to believe this?" Ambassador Trell asked, his 4 eyes narrowed in suspicion. "That some invisible threat from deep space is coming to consume our minds?" "The evidence is before you," Laura replied calmly. "The data from Haven Colony, the historical records, and the activation of all 7 Bastion ships." On a large screen behind them, images showed the massive human warships now positioned at strategic points along the borders of known space. Coalition patrol ships kept a safe distance, monitoring their every move. "Even if this threat is real," said another council member, a reptilian Nexian, "how can we trust weapons built by humans 4 centuries ago using technology they barely understood?" Alan stepped forward. "We don't ask for trust. We ask for cooperation. The Whispering Dark doesn't distinguish between humans and other species. It's a threat to all conscious life." The chamber erupted in arguments. Some council members demanded the Bastion fleet be destroyed immediately. Others wanted more time to study the data. A few supported the humans. Finally, Dr. Vazin raised her voice. "I have seen the evidence with my own eyes. Are we too proud to accept help, even if it comes from a source we didn't expect?" A hush fell over the room. President Clark, who had joined the session via hologram, spoke next. "Earth doesn't claim to understand everything about the Bastion fleet or the technology it uses. That's why we've asked Kyle Bennett to work directly with the Garrett AI to ensure the Veil generators are deployed safely." On the bridge of the USS Nomad, Kyle worked frantically at the main console. Olivia stood nearby, studying weapon readouts. She still didn't fully understand. "The Veil will create a barrier," Kyle explained as they worked. "Not physical, but something that blocks the Whispering Dark from perceiving our minds, makes us invisible to it." "How does it work?" Olivia asked. Kyle shook his head. "The science is beyond me. The Vanished developed it as a defense, but they deployed it too late. We have a chance they didn't." The Garrett AI appeared on a nearby screen. "All ships report ready. Generators aligned, awaiting final authorization." Back in the council chamber, the vote was close, but the result clear. The coalition would support the deployment of the Veil. "Authorization granted," President Clark announced. The words were relayed across space to the waiting fleet. One by one, the 7 Bastion ships activated their main weapons, not firing destructive energy, but creating an invisible field that spread outward, enveloping first Earth, then coalition worlds, then all of known space. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then reports began coming in from deep space outposts. Strange readings had disappeared. Several researchers who had been experiencing headaches and whispers suddenly felt clear-headed again. 1 month later, Alan stood with Laura on the observation deck of Earth's orbital station. Below them, the blue planet turned peacefully. "The coalition is still nervous," Laura said. "But they've accepted the Bastion fleet as a necessary defense. Joint research teams are studying the Veil technology now." "And the Whispering Dark?" Alan asked. "No sign of it approaching. The Veil seems to be working. They can't see us anymore." The door slid open, and Kyle entered with Olivia. "The Garrett AI has a new message," he announced. "It wants the fleet separated again, positioned at different points around Coalition space to maintain the Veil. And it wants human crews," Olivia added. "Combined teams of humans and Coalition species." Alan looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, ancient hunters prowled the darkness between galaxies, searching for minds to consume. But now, for the first time, those minds had a defense. 4 centuries ago, humans found something they couldn't understand, he said quietly. They built ships too powerful to remember, then made themselves forget. Now we remember again. And we're not alone this time, Laura added. Beyond the station, the USS Nomad glided silently past, its massive form reflecting sunlight. Once forgotten, now remembered. Once feared, now a guardian. The ship that should not have existed had saved them all. As both humans and aliens grapple with these revelations, sensors detect multiple objects approaching from deep space, objects with the same signature as the USS Nomad. The lost fleet has returned, apparently on some automated protocol triggered by the reactivation of their sister ship. With tensions at a breaking point and the mysterious fleet approaching, Kyle makes a breakthrough. The ships aren't returning as a threat, but as a warning. The ancient alien technology that powered them was designed as a beacon, a warning about something far worse lurking in the darkness between galaxies. Professor Wright, Dr. Vazin, and their combined team work frantically to decode the full warning message stored in the Nomad's computers. They discover that the ancient aliens who built the original technology had fled from a cosmic horror, a sentient void that consumed civilizations. The revelation unites humans and coalition species against this greater threat. In the final scenes, the returned fleet of ghost ships positions itself as a first line of defense at the edge of charted space. Human and alien scientists work together to understand and improve upon the ancient technology, now with proper safeguards against its mimetic properties. The lost human warship, too powerful to remember, becomes the foundation for a new era of cooperation as the united species prepare for a threat none could face alone. What was forgotten by design now serves as the galaxy's best hope for survival against the darkness that approaches.